Boris has told us we can have some support bubbles.
I know how difficult the past months have been for people cut off from their friends and family.
I'm glad you do, because your colleagues don't.
Last Monday, we relaxed the rules on meeting outdoors so that groups of up to 6 could gather, provided they are socially distant. We did so in the knowledge that transmission of the virus is much lower outdoors, so we could make this change in a safe way. But there are still too many people, particularly those who live by themselves, who are lonely and struggling with being unable to see friends and family. So from this weekend, we will allow single adult households, so adults living alone or single parents with children under 18, to form a support bubble.
What is with this term bubble? What is it, like our enclosed little safe space, our own little bubbles to keep us safe and away from humanity? You know, the cool kids going back to school, they've called that bubbles as well, having kids in bubbles. And now they want us in our households in bubbles too. Do you know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you remember it. Do you remember Strutter from MTV? It's hilarious. And in this new abnormal, the Strutter bubble is the perfect scenario. Again, if you haven't watched this, it's comedy gold. It truly is. The guy is in his Strutter bubble, bouncing people off as he goes into the supermarket. It just sounds like the perfect scenario. It really does. For the people still taking all this stuff really seriously, then the product isn't real, by the way. It's a joke. Yeah, a little bit like this whole situation at the minute.
All those in a support bubble will be able to act as if they live in the same household, meaning they can spend time together inside each other's homes and do not need to stay 2 meters apart. I want to stress that support bubbles must be exclusive, meaning you can't switch the household you are in a bubble with or connect with multiple households. And if any member of the support bubble develops symptoms, all members of the bubble will need to follow the normal advice on household isolation.
Is anybody actually taking this seriously? Is anybody actually still sticking to this stuff? Anyway, a couple of serious questions, Boris. If you got 2 kids, which one do you pick? That's not going to break up households, is it? Picking one of your kids? Serious question, which one?
I don't know.
Why they're called bubbles?
I don't know.
How long is all this bubble BS gonna last?
I don't know.
Anyway, good news for all you singletons who fancy a date, right? Well, don't get too excited. It's still advised that you wear a mask when having sex. Why don't you just go the whole hog, put the bio suits on and just have a hole and a zip for all the necessary places? Some journalists, some media has finally come out to question this school and getting our kids back to school and their welfare and this whole social distancing coronavirus scandal and saga, which is basically what it is. Why has it taken so long? Why haven't more journalists come out to question it? I mean, it's been going around. The data's been there for a while now about the fact that your kids are more likely to be struck by lightning than to be affected by COVID-19. The stats have been there. They've been there for a long time now. I've been talking about it for a while. People like lockdown skeptics have been talking about it for a while. Come on, journalists, let's start questioning this a little bit more, shall we? Let's start looking after our kids, including their mental well-being. You'll be pleased to hear that Professor Lockdown continues to have an input.
The epidemic was doubling every 3 to 4 days before lockdown interventions were introduced. So had we introduced lockdown measures a week earlier, we would have reduced the final death toll by at least a half. So whilst I think the measures, given what we know about knew about this virus then, in terms of its transmission and its lethality, were warranted. I wouldn't second guess them at this point. Certainly, had we introduced them earlier, we would have seen many fewer deaths.
He's basically saying that if we would have gone under lockdown a week earlier, we would have saved about half of the lives. Hang on a minute. I think he's wrong. Hang on. I've checked my projections, and I actually think it's more like 82.5% lives that we would have actually saved. I mean, come on! Is this for real? If I had have took a crap on Tuesday, then coronavirus would have never existed at all. I mean, we can all come out and say now that if we'd have done this or we'd have done that, then things would have been different. Yeah, it's called hindsight, and it's worth jack all. To add salt to the wound, the government has said that they have just followed the advice from day one of these experts from Sage, Imperial College and all these other experts. They've just followed it from day one. So what happened then? Did they forget to tell you to lock down at a better time? Because apparently Boris would have done pretty much anything that you'd have said. What a lockdown of millions of people would kill potentially more people by locking them down than the virus itself.
Yeah, okay.
And they continue to bang on about this second wave as well. This second wave potentially coming in the winter. Chris Whitty, Chief Medical Officer, has said it has the potential to be more deadly than the first wave. But this again coincides with this professor, Carol Sikora, who I will add was a director of the WHO, who regularly posts updates and stats on countries who have come out of lockdowns. So here's a couple. These are countries that came out of lockdowns a couple of months ago. Cases reported yesterday: Denmark 15, Norway 18, Austria 26, Czech Republic 73. In other words, pretty much next to nothing. And these are countries that have come out of their lockdowns. And finally, rats are turning into cannibals. Rats are turning crazy. So, if you see a rat in the road, bloodshot eyes staring at you, run. If you've enjoyed these few minutes of common sense, rationale and sanity, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to stay updated. And in these trying times, the very best way to stay in touch is to subscribe. Subscribe on my website, carlvernon.com. I ain't going back and editing this. This has been too long a video. I hope you appreciate it.